Hey, what's up? This is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. Who's ready for some fighting words? In this video, I want to do a fight breakdown / prediction for Artur Beterbiev versus Callum Smith. Really quick, if you like the videos, please subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of great fights coming up, so there's a lot of breakdowns that will be coming. There's a lot more that will be coming as well. And also just keeping up with some fight news. But if you haven't subscribed, do so now. Also, if you could, hit that thumbs up button because it truly does help and support this channel. So let's jump into it. Resume. This is going to go to Artur Beterbiev, AB. Why? Because, okay, now a lot of people say, well, Callum Smith, he fought Canelo Alvarez. That's true, but he lost to Canelo Alvarez. So therefore, I'm not giving you that. Yeah, you shared the ring with him, but you didn't do anything with him, and he outclassed you. So there's nothing to brag about. While Artur Beterbiev took on Anthony Yarde, which, contrary to what a lot of people might think, he's no walk in the park. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's explosive, he's very athletic, and he's extremely creative in the ring. So for him to do what he did to Anthony Yarde says something. Also, Joe Smith. Joe Smith is a slugger. Joe Smith knocks people out. That's what he does. And you see what he did with Joe Smith. It was one and done. He took care of him very quickly, very precisely. So on resume, I got to give it to Artur Beterbiev. Power. 19 fights, 19 KOs. Artur Beterbiev. There's really nothing to talk about. Whatever he hits, he destroys. I don't know if you saw Rocky IV. Whatever he hits, he destroys. That's Artur Beterbiev. Boxing IQ. So, although Callum Smith does have a very high boxing IQ, you got to give him his credit. But when you're talking about these Eastern Europeans, man, they've had so many fights. They're very, very, very seasoned. And the ones who actually make it, like, break out of their country and become global, like Artur Beterbiev and your Dmitry Bivals and your Triple Gs, Gennady Golovkins, your Vasily Lomachenkos and your Alexander Usyks. You get these guys like that, they're elite. They're the elite of the elite. They've seen it all, they've done it all, and they've had a ton of experience because they've been in the ring a ton of times and they've shared the ring pretty much everybody. So I gotta give it, based on that, to Artur Beterbiev. Footwork, I think Callum Smith. Callum Smith does have great footwork. Callum Smith is just your classical boxer. I think listen, if this was just a point fight, I think he'd beat Beterbiev from this side of the ring to the other side because it's a point fight. Unfortunately, it's a real fight, and that's going to be the deciding factor. How well he takes those punches from Artur Beterbiev. But footwork, Callum Smith can't go backwards. He's typically the thing with Callum Smith is he wants to be an aggressive guy, but that's not his nature. And I think you need to stick to what you do best. If you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you'll hear me say, stick to what got you to the dance. And if classical boxing has gotten you to the dance, stick with that. Stick and move. You hit him, you move, you get out of town. And then you hit him again. Listen, if point in fighting has got you to the dance, continue to do it. Just brawling or just slugging it out with guys, that's not your cup of tea. Callum Smith has great footwork, and I think if he utilizes it correctly, especially in the early rounds, he can give Artur Beterbiev a whole lot of problems. Cardio. Really both guys, but I'm going to give it to Artur Beterbiev. That name is hard. Beterbiev. Why? Because he doesn't exude a lot of energy. He doesn't waste energy. He's not a wild guy. Like, even when he has you hurt, he's not wild. He's still looking for the right shot. Even when you're dazed or when you're, in la-la land, he's still looking for the right shot. He's just not going to waste punches and just throw punches out there just because. He's not going to do that. And because of that, he's well preserved. He's going to last 12 rounds, no problem. He's going to make it to the finish line, no problem. Let's see. Speed. Callum Smith, all the way. All the way. That's his game. His game is dependent on speed. If you take that from him, he becomes a very average, very average boxer. But because of the speed and his classical boxing technique and his just way of approaching things, it makes him very competitive and, elite. I really do think so. But he's going to have to use that speed. Speed is going to be a huge factor in this fight because he cannot afford to stand in front of Artur Beterbiev. Heart. Gotta give it to AB Artur Beterbiev all day. Why? Because he's been down. He's been cut open, and he got back up, knowing that the referee was going to stop that fight, and he finished the fight. He took his man out because he knew he didn't have long. Not the way he was leaking. He knew he didn't have long. Got back on his feet, composed himself. Not that he... That's another thing about him when I talk about heart. He was never broken in that moment. It was just an unfortunate incident, and he said, all right, I got to do what I got to do, but I got to finish this out because he's looking to count me out if I don't finish him out. And sure enough, got back to his feet. He did that. Callum Smith, in terms of heart, you look at the Canelo fight, he just looked timid after a while. You know, not to say that he didn't want to be in there, but there was a point where he didn't know what to do. And it was very evident and obvious, especially to Canelo Alvarez. So I got to give heart to Artur Beterbiev. Durability, come on. The dude, Artur Beterbiev, hands down. I mean, he's a living, breathing tank, and he's just going to keep marching forward, and he's going to steamroll you. He's going to maul you. He's going to line you up, and he's going to get you out of there. He's a problem, and he's a big, durable problem. So, like, again, the factor in this fight is speed, mainly for Callum Smith. You know, hit and move, hit and move. Let's see, defense. Callum Smith has great defense. He really does. He has great defense. He's a great counterpuncher as well. And I feel like he can punch within sequence. But he also knows how to move his head. And he also knows how to defend himself in terms of defense with his footwork and backing out or leaning back. He has a lot of different ways, high guards. He's got a lot of different ways to defend himself. However, when I look at Artur Beterbiev, it's not that he doesn't have great defense. It's just he's a classical puncher. And punchers, typically, their defense is their offense. And when you hit as hard as Artur Beterbiev, you know, you're not really thinking defense first. You're offensive. But in doing so, him hitting so hard, people backing up, it's kind of like a defense. But definitely I would say it's Callum Smith. Who just, if we're just comparing defense, Callum Smith has better defense. Let's see, Bodywork. Both of them know how to throw punches to the body, but when you look at Artur Beterbiev, he has a sustained punch to the body. That's the difference. That's the difference. It's not going to be one here and one there, and then two in round 4, and then 3 or maybe one more in round 5, and then 3 in round 7. It's not like that. It's not all over the place or sporadic or whenever I see an opening. A sustained body attack is I'm attacking that. That's the point of entry that I'm going after. That's what I see as the weak point. And to the body, Callum Smith is not the strongest guy in the world. Canelo's giving him a lot of problems to that body. So I can just imagine Artur Beterbiev is going to rip him to shreds in the body. And that could be how Callum Smith handles body shots from Artur Beterbiev is going to be a huge factor. And also will be one of the deciding factors in the fight. Because if he can handle it, okay, this fight's going to last a little longer than I expected. If he cannot handle it, this is going to be a very short fight, possibly under 6 rounds. Let's see, mental toughness. Again, Artur Beterbiev. You know, and it's something about that Eastern European fighting, you know, especially when you've had so many opponents in your past. And also just I want to feel like the way of life. Now, have I been there? No. But they all have that look in their eye where they can't be broken, that they can't, nothing can stop them. You know, they all have that look in their eyes. And Artur Beterbiev has like a dangerous variation of that look in his eyes. So, come on, mental toughness, that dude is ice cold. Fighting at range. Now, this will greatly benefit Callum Smith. He's got those long arms. He's very tall for the division. And again, he's great on his feet. He's very light on his feet, despite his frame. Very light on his feet. He's going to have to use that and use it the whole night. At no point in this fight is he ever going to say to himself, I can be a stationary fighter and I can slug it out with this guy. And if he does, that is not advised. It's not advisable. Like, if I were in his corner, the one thing I would very much so stress is that do not stand in front of this guy at any point. At any point. So cardio and the lead up to the fight would be my main thing. That he can run around for 12 rounds, no problem. So I would like train him in altitude or something like that to get his lungs strong, because he's going to need that. He's going to need those legs. and he's going to need his mobility, much so. So let's see. What can Callum Smith do? What can't Callum Smith do? Well, one, he can't let Artur Beterbiev lead. If he lets him lead, it's over. Okay, Beterbiev has like a bully mentality anyway, and he's going to be pressuring you the whole time. If he leads, it's over. Because if he leads, he's going to dictate the fight. And Artur Beterbiev typically gets off first. He likes to punch first. He doesn't like to counterpunch. He likes to punch first. Callum Smith is actually a great counterpuncher, but I don't think in this fight it would benefit him much, because if he were to get hit first, or he's gonna be dizzy. Like it's not like he's gonna be counterpunching like anything crazy. So I strongly suggest that he would lead. He would lead and he would dictate the pace. Let's see. Set that pace. And whatever pace you set, you need to keep that pace. Listen, here's the thing about pacing. You can't start off at 90 miles an hour and then slowly go on down to 55 and then, max out at 40, 45 miles an hour. Whatever pace you start, especially in this matchup, whatever pace you start, you need to be able to sustain that pace. Okay, get on cruise control. So if it's 75%, then fine. Stay at 75% because you're going to need it. Because again, Artur Beterbiev does not waste a whole lot of energy. And in those later rounds, those championship rounds, you're going to need that mobility, because now you're not going to be a spring chicken like you were in the first round. Let's see. What can Callum do to frustrate Artur Beterbiev? That jab of his. Like I said, he has very long arms. Mobility, constantly moving, circling, do not back up. That will only play in Artur Beterbiev's strengths. Don't back up, but circle him. Circle, circle, circle. And I would also say keep his attacks very simple. And when I say simple attacks, like basic 1-2. 1-2 and get out of dodge. He needs to look like Laura in this fight. 1-2 and get out of dodge. Or 2 and get out of dodge. Jab, 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 and get out of dodge. Okay, that's what he needs to do. A lot of feints, a lot of movement. But very simple attacks. Something very simple that he can just spring out of there once he's done with it. He doesn't need to stay to see what type of damage he did in that sequence. Let's see. What can Artur Beterbiev do to close the show? Maul Callum Smith. That's what he's going to do. He's going to maul him. Let's see. Close the distance, obviously, very fast, because Callum Smith is light on his feet. He's also taller. He's going to be fighting at range. I'm pretty sure nobody is advising him to get in the pocket with him. Let's see. Go to the body early, because again, Callum Smith, his strength in his fight is his legs, his mobility. If you can take that away, one of the things that let's see, what you could do, hit him in the hip. You hit him in the hip, two things are going to happen. One, his legs are going to go away, and two, his arms are going to naturally drop. And now he's just food for you at that point. Let's see, pressure him. Mentally, Callum Smith does not like to be pressured. He doesn't like people walking him down. And that was very evident and prevalent in the Canelo fight. And with the Canelo fight, we can learn a lot, because not to say that him and Artur Beterbiev fight a lot alike, but they have the same kind of mentality in the ring with that pressure fighting and that bullying. And I think it will serve Beterbiev even more so than Canelo, who was smaller. Overall, I have Artur Beterbiev winning. I just think he's too strong. I think he's too durable. I think he hits too hard. I think he has way too much power. I think Callum Smith does not like getting hit in the body. So I really don't know what he's going to do with Artur Beterbiev. You couldn't handle Canelo Alvarez hitting you in the body. Artur Beterbiev is going to destroy whatever he hits. So I have Artur Beterbiev. I do not see this fight going the distance. He's not a sloppy guy. Great technique. Very composed, stone cold. I have Artur Beterbiev winning. I'd probably say if I stretch this fight out, I give him 7 rounds. But I think it's going to end a lot earlier than that. So I have Artur Beterbiev winning by knockout. Or somebody's just going to throw in that towel. Either way, Callum Smith does not make it to the end bell. Those are my thoughts. Drop your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And as always, please like, please share, please subscribe to this channel.